The scene opens on a peaceful morning in the White House. Soft light streams through the office window, creating a cozy atmosphere, yet the room is filled with the tension of important meetings. President Donald Trump sits at his large desk, his gaze directed out the window, but his mind is tangled in complex political issues. In the corner of the room, a small figure appears, quiet yet determined. It is the dog that President Trump adopted. The dog has a thick, light yellow coat, bright eyes that seem to understand every emotion of its owner. It doesn't make noise, doesn't bark, it simply sits in a corner, observing every movement of Trump. "We're going to do this, right, buddy?" Trump says to the dog, his eyes still fixed on the reports on the desk. The dog, a Labrador retriever named Buddy, occasionally looks up at him, its ears perked as if it understands every word. Buddy has been Trump's loyal companion since the early days of his presidential campaign. No one in the Trump family expected the dog to become such an important part of their years in the White House, but Buddy proved it by quietly staying by Trump's side during the toughest moments. Trump chuckles softly, a smile that acknowledges something unspoken. "It's not time to rest, Buddy. But that's okay. At least you're always here." The dog merely looks back at him, not speaking, but its presence is enough for Trump to feel at ease. No matter how harsh or unstable the world outside may be, at least he has a friend who will never betray him, who will never stop loving him. The scene transitions to another part of the White House, where staff are working, preparing for an emergency meeting. But no one knows that, in that moment, a little dog is the only friend Trump can confide in during the solitude of being a president. Every decision, every step he takes is watched and evaluated by millions, but Buddy never does that. It only knows one thing: absolute loyalty. "You're really my only true friend, Buddy." Trump continues, looking out the window, as if to let Buddy understand that some relationships don't need words to be explained. On a sofa in the corner of the room, Melania Trump, the president's wife, sits with a book in hand. She doesn't engage in the conversation, but smiles as she watches Trump and his dog through the window. "Do you ever feel like this dog understands you more than I do?" Melania asks, her voice gentle yet teasing. Trump looks over and shrugs. "He knows when I need to listen and when I need peace. He's always there." "Of course," Melania replies, but her eyes never leave her book. Buddy, with light steps, moves closer to where Trump is sitting. It does nothing special other than rest its head on his lap. Trump pauses for a few seconds, bending down to pet Buddy. For Trump, this isn't just a simple gesture, but a moment of calm in a noisy and stressful world. Buddy is not just a companion during important meetings. It has proven to be an indispensable part of the Trump family's daily life. To many, the president is a leader, a strong figure with decisive abilities. But to Buddy, he is a human with fatigue, worries, and sometimes thoughts that cannot be shared with anyone else. The long days of nonstop work, constant phone calls, and never-ending news, Trump always finds comfort in Buddy, his quiet yet sincere companion. Buddy never has complicated demands. It just needs a little love and attention, which President Trump is always willing to give whenever he can. In contrast to the tense meetings and decisions that must be made every minute, Buddy always brings him relaxation, a wordless companionship that nothing else can replace. Trump sat back down in his office chair, his hand still gently stroking Buddy's back, his eyes reflecting deep thoughts. The room had become much quieter, but it wasn't the silence of rest. It was a slow, contemplative space. The upcoming decisions wouldn't be easy, and he knew that no matter what, he would have to bear them. But with Buddy by his side, Trump felt an invisible support, a resource that couldn't be measured by words. The dog raised its head, its bright eyes gazing at him intently, as if to say, "I'm always here." Trump smiled softly, but not in a joyful way. It was a smile that acknowledged a truth, that some things in life can't be changed, and there are things we cannot face alone. "Really? Thank you, Buddy," Trump whispered, his gaze drifting out the window, where a new day was beginning, with events and challenges waiting outside. Buddy wagged its tail slightly, moving closer, as if to make sure that Trump didn't feel alone in those moments. The dog could never fully understand everything Trump was going through, but it understood one thing for sure. It had to be the loyal companion, an inseparable part of his life. Sometimes, simply being present was all a person needed. Everything in the White House moved to its own rhythm. Meetings were constantly held, phones never stopped ringing, and work always seemed never-ending. Yet, in those brief moments when no one else was in the room, Buddy remained the irreplaceable friend. It was in those moments that Trump could take a deep breath, look at the dog with a softness he rarely showed in public. For him, Buddy was part of the family, but a part that only family could truly understand. And strangely enough, in a life full of noise and tension, it was this small dog that could bring an indescribable sense of peace. Every time Trump stroked Buddy, he felt as if everything around him paused. No more pressure from national policies, no more worry about upcoming decisions. It was just him and Buddy, in a brief moment where time seemed to stand still. The dog didn't need to say anything, nor express any special emotion. It only needed to be there, by his side, offering a wordless comfort. One day, as Trump was preparing for an important meeting where he would face international leaders, Buddy appeared next to him. As usual, the dog walked into the room, looking at Trump attentively, its eyes seeming to predict his mood. Trump stopped, placed a hand on Buddy's head, and whispered, "You're my best friend, Buddy." Buddy just wagged its tail, not doing anything particularly special. But in that moment, the silence of the dog brought the steadiness that Trump needed. While everyone else might only see him as a president, a leader, Buddy saw him as an ordinary man, without power, without responsibility, simply someone who needed to be understood and loved. Trump knew that in this world, no one is perfect, and he was no exception. The moments of weakness, the times when he couldn't bear the pressure of work, those things could be hidden from everyone around him. But Buddy, the loyal dog, was the only one who truly knew him, understood him without needing any explanations. The final scene of this part is when Trump stands up, preparing to step out of the office for an important meeting. Buddy stands right beside him, ready to follow. They walk to the door, their two figures blending together, facing the world outside. But in the president's heart, there was a firm belief that no matter how great the challenges ahead, he would never have to face them alone. Buddy would always be there, loyal and resilient, like a friend who never leaves. The first meeting between President Trump and Buddy took place at a dog training camp, where dogs were trained to become companions for special families. At that time, Trump was still just a presidential candidate, unaware that this trip would change his life and that of a dog he had never met. The scene begins on a chilly autumn morning. President Trump stands outside the training area, wearing comfortable sportswear, his eyes filled with anxiety, not because of the ongoing political race, but because he felt the need for a change in his life. The long days on the campaign trail had left him exhausted, and he knew it was perhaps time to find a true companion. The dog Trump chose was a Labrador Retriever, a breed known for its loyalty and ability to be an excellent companion. It wasn't an extraordinary dog on the outside, but in Trump's eyes, it was everything he needed at that moment. A friend who would never betray him, never seek personal gain. Buddy was lying in a large training area, but he didn't seem too interested in the other dogs playing around. He focused only on those he could connect with. When Trump entered the training area, Buddy's eyes immediately found him, and it seemed as though an unspoken understanding passed between them. Trump walked over, and as if drawn by an invisible force, the dog slowly stood up and walked towards him. A trainer standing nearby explained about Buddy. "This dog is very special, sir. He's very sensitive to human emotions and has the ability to understand their moods." Trump bent down, extended his hand, and Buddy, without hesitation, approached and touched his hand with his nose. The sensation caught Trump off guard. Despite being someone who had faced many tense situations, this moment made him feel something he hadn't felt before: peace and comfort. "Hello, Buddy," Trump said softly, but his eyes conveyed something that few could perceive, a connection between two souls that didn't need words. In the days that followed, Trump spent more time getting to know Buddy. Every morning, when he woke up, Buddy would wait by the door, wagging his tail to greet him like an old friend. Whenever Trump encountered stress at work, Buddy would simply sit beside him, resting his head on his lap, his calm eyes looking at him as if to say, "You don't have to face this alone." The dog became not just a part of the Trump family, but gradually an inseparable friend in his daily life. They both found comfort in each other. Trump didn't need to verbalize all his worries, but Buddy seemed to understand them. Every day, The dog had its own way of soothing the stress in his heart. One time, during an important press conference, when President Trump had to face a barrage of tough questions from reporters, Buddy accompanied him into the room. While the reporters asked about political decisions, national and international situations, Trump would sometimes look at Buddy for emotional support. And each time, Buddy would simply look at him attentively, as if ready for a small action to make him feel more secure. After each meeting, when Trump stepped outside and saw Buddy waiting beside him, all the fatigue seemed to vanish. The dog didn't need to know about politics, didn't need to understand the important decisions Trump had to make. But it knew that just by being there, it could be a part of the peace that Trump so desperately needed. A week later, President Trump decided to bring Buddy to the White House. This wasn't just a personal decision, but a significant step in his life. Everyone in the White House knew about the special bond between Trump and Buddy, and gradually, the dog became a part of the Trump family's culture. Whenever he returned from a tense meeting, Buddy was always the first to run out to greet him, with a gentle gaze and ears perked up as a symbol of absolute loyalty. "You'll definitely be there for me through these tough days," Trump said to Buddy in a gentle moment as they walked together around the White House grounds. "Thank you for always being by my side." Buddy didn't respond, but the gentle wag of his tail and his presence spoke volumes. No words, no reasons, just absolute loyalty. The days at the White House passed, but Buddy's presence never changed. Every morning, when Trump woke up, the dog was always the first companion he saw. Bright eyes, a gently wagging tail, like a warm good morning greeting. It was an irreplaceable beginning to every day for the president. While everyone around him was busy with work, meetings, and political strategies, Buddy needed only one thing: Trump's presence. And that became an inseparable habit, one that Trump found hard to imagine living without, no matter how much the world outside changed. The story of Trump and Buddy wasn't just about peaceful moments. It was also a story of challenging situations. One of the memories Trump would never forget was the first time Buddy made him feel truly steadfast during a tense meeting with international leaders. The scene begins on an important morning in the White House. President Trump is preparing for a summit with international leaders, a meeting he knows won't be easy. The pressure from partners, the demands and expectations both domestically and internationally, weigh heavily on him. Looking at the thick pile of documents, Trump feels like he's facing an insurmountable challenge. As a habit, Buddy enters the office. The dog doesn't speak, nor does it make any remarkable actions, but its presence seems to calm the tense atmosphere in the room. Trump looks up at Buddy, and it's as if, with just one look, all his worries disappear. "You don't have to worry," Trump says softly, as if talking to an old friend. "Thank you, Buddy, for always being here." Buddy simply sits quietly next to him, its bright eyes full of understanding. It's in that moment that Trump realizes, sometimes you don't need to say everything. Just having that companion by your side is enough. Together, they've overcome countless challenges. That day's summit turned out to be more intense than expected. International leaders were faced with tough decisions, issues that weren't easy to resolve. However, Trump realized that every time he looked at Buddy sitting beside him, calmness and steadiness returned. The dog didn't need to speak, but it was an indispensable part of the larger picture of the mental strength Trump needed to face every situation. Buddy seemed to have a special ability to understand others' emotions, even though it was just a dog. In the toughest moments, when Trump felt like he was stuck between opposing forces, Buddy would always appear at just the right time. Once, when the meeting stretched for hours, some people began to feel fatigued and tense. But when Buddy entered the room, everything seemed to settle. "Thank you," Trump said, even though he knew the dog couldn't understand everything. But Buddy didn't need to understand. It only needed to know that Trump always needed it, and that its presence brought Trump an invaluable comfort. Then, one afternoon, when Trump had to attend a tense press conference, this was proven once again. As reporters fired off a series of difficult questions about international issues and the important policies the president was implementing, Buddy stood right by his side, silent and composed. Trump looked down and saw Buddy sitting at his feet, calm and not barking or running around. "Thank you, Buddy. You always know how to calm me down," Trump whispered. Each time faced with complex questions, Trump's eyes would find Buddy. The quiet moments between reporter questions seemed like a time for him to regain his resolve. Once again, Buddy proved that loyalty wasn't just a trait, It was the presence that every person needed in their life. When the press conference ended, Trump stood up, waved gently to the reporters, and walked out. Buddy followed, wagging its tail as if congratulating him on a successful meeting. For Trump, it wasn't just a successful meeting, but a realization once again that, while everything around him could change and be full of challenges, Buddy's absolute loyalty was a solid foundation he could rely on. The interesting situations Trump experienced during his years in the White House weren't merely about meetings or political decisions. There were also moments when Trump realized that, even standing at the height of power, he still needed a loyal friend by his side to help him navigate every challenge. And Buddy, the Labrador dog, was not just a friend but a protector, an essential part of every step President Trump took. The story of Buddy and President Trump wasn't just about gentle and peaceful moments. There were times when the dog was not just a companion, but a protector, a friend that Trump could rely on during difficult situations, moments when he felt he could lose control. The challenges Trump faced weren't only meetings or political decisions, but also unexpected situations, threats from places he never imagined. The story begins one late evening, when the White House was quiet, all the staff had left, and only President Trump remained with his unfinished work. His office was lit by the desk lamp, with stacks of unsolved documents spread out. But that night, something felt off. A small signal from outside raised Trump's alertness. A strange sound from the hallway made him stop, his sharp eyes quickly scanning every detail in the room. Buddy, as if having a special ability to sense changes in the atmosphere, suddenly stood up and walked toward the door. It didn't bark, didn't make a fuss, it just stood still, its bright eyes shining, ears perked. Trump didn't say anything, but he felt a strange sense rise inside him. Something was happening. Suddenly, a security officer appeared at the door. "Mr. President, there is an emergency. Immediate assistance is needed," the officer said, his voice full of concern. Trump immediately stood up, a sense of unease flashing through him. The officer continued, "There's a threat from outside. We've detected an intrusion signal. We're working to block it, but we need your help." Trump wasn't unfamiliar with dangerous situations throughout his presidency, but this one seemed more serious than usual. "He'll stay here with me," Trump said, pointing to Buddy, as if making a decision naturally. The dog stood right beside him, still silent, but looking at Trump as if it knew a new challenge was approaching. With the decision made, Trump didn't hesitate. They quickly left the office, heading toward the White House security room. Buddy followed closely, its eyes never leaving him. Trump felt the calmness in Buddy's steps. Sometimes, the presence of a friend doesn't just soothe anxiety, it also makes us feel stronger. And Buddy, in that moment, was Trump's greatest source of encouragement. As they approached the security area, a team of guards had already gathered, some checking equipment and security cameras. Trump felt a little nervous, but the moment he saw Buddy, he knew he wasn't alone. That feeling helped him maintain the necessary composure. "We'll do everything according to plan," Trump said to the security staff, his eyes still on Buddy. "But remember, we have to prepare for anything. And Buddy will always be here." No one said anything more, but everyone understood the meaning. The dog wasn't just a pet in the White House. It was a silent protector, an important part of the president's security. Trump never underestimated Buddy's role, and in this tense moment, the dog's presence became more precious than ever. An hour later, when the threat had been dealt with and everything gradually returned to normal, Trump returned to his office. Buddy was still by his side, without a word, just sitting and waiting, as if it had completed its mission. "We did well," Trump said, his eyes looking at Buddy with a silent gratitude. "Thank you, Buddy. You've always been with me, whether in times of difficulty or peace." Buddy lifted its head, eyes shining brightly, gently wagging its tail. No more words were needed. They understood each other. A relationship that didn't require words, only absolute loyalty and deep trust. The next day, when Trump stood in front of the mirror in his office, preparing for an important press conference, he saw Buddy sitting beside him, the dog's eyes seemingly filled with unwavering trust. Trump couldn't help but feel lucky. In a world full of change, where every decision could have unforeseen consequences, Buddy remained a steady anchor. The dog was not just a companion, but also an invisible protector, someone Trump could rely on during his darkest times. "Thank you," Trump whispered, as a late acknowledgement to Buddy. And this time, Buddy responded not just with a gentle tail wag, but with a strong presence, showing that nothing mattered more than the loyalty and friendship that this dog provided. After the events of that night, when the threat had been resolved, Trump's mood still didn't return to normal. He knew that the White House would never be completely safe, and in a world full of turmoil, every moment could bring a new challenge. However, what made Trump feel steadfast wasn't the heavy security measures or professional guard teams, but the unquestionable loyalty of Buddy. Every morning, when Trump woke up, Buddy's eyes were always the first thing he saw. The sense of peace, closeness, and familiarity that the dog brought was an invisible protection, a protection he felt every day. Sometimes, while sitting at his desk, seeing Buddy lying quietly beside him, Trump felt as if he could face any challenge without feeling alone. One morning, as Trump was preparing for an important meeting with his advisors, Buddy did something unusual. The dog didn't sit still as usual but moved closer to him, nudging Trump's hand with his nose, as if wanting to say something. Trump looked down, his eyes momentarily confused. "We're going to face some difficulties today, aren't we, Buddy?" Trump said, as if he knew there was a feeling lingering in the air. "It feels like something is coming closer." Buddy looked at him, never taking its eyes off him, and then gently wagged its tail, as if preparing for something important. Trump didn't know that, in those moments, Buddy was not just an ordinary friend, but a reliable companion, a strong intuition that would help him face unpredictable challenges. Throughout the meeting, as the advisors discussed pressing international political issues, Trump had the habit of looking down at Buddy beside him, not to seek validation, but to find a sense of comfort, a feeling that, no matter how complicated the situation was, he wasn't alone. Each time, Buddy sat beside him, silently but with a strong presence, calming every worry in Trump's mind. Once, when the discussion reached a climax and one of his advisors made a suggestion that Trump didn't find convincing enough, he suddenly turned to look at Buddy. The dog lifted its head, its eyes locking with his, and in that moment, Trump felt as if Buddy was transmitting a message without saying a word. It was patience, it was companionship in every difficult decision he had to make. "You can see I'm hesitating, can't you?" Trump said softly, his eyes looking at Buddy with understanding. "Maybe, sometimes I need to trust my instincts." Buddy wagged its tail, and this time, the wag wasn't just a greeting, but a wordless encouragement. Trump felt as if everything had become clearer, and he began to make the decision that felt right to him. The relationship between Trump and Buddy didn't just stop at peaceful moments or tense challenges. It was a deep bond, an invisible connection between two different beings, yet they understood each other in a way that no one could describe with words. Trump didn't just see Buddy as a dog, he saw him as an essential part of his spiritual protection team, an irreplaceable companion in his daily life. The story of Buddy isn't just about a dog and a president. It's a story about loyalty, mutual understanding, and companionship in the toughest moments. That Labrador dog did things no one could have expected, helping Trump feel peace amidst difficult decisions, helping him find resilience and strength in his weakest moments. One evening, as Trump sat on his lounge chair, holding a book and gazing out the window, Buddy gently walked over and sat beside him. The dog's eyes shone with attentiveness, as if it understood that he needed some time to himself. Trump put the book down and reached out to pet Buddy. "We've been through a lot together, haven't we?" Trump whispered, giving a soft smile. "Thank you for always being here." Buddy lifted its head, eyes bright, wagging its tail. It didn't need to say anything, but in that moment, Trump knew that the bond between them had transcended ordinary companionship. It was an inseparable connection, one that only loyal friends could understand. And in that quiet moment, as the light from the window cast shadows of the two friends, Trump felt that no matter how the world changed, no matter how many challenges he faced, Buddy would always be there, always a steadfast protector in the toughest of times. The relationship between President Trump and Buddy was not just a story of friendship between a man and a dog, but also a story of an invisible bond that we sometimes can't put into words. Throughout Trump's years at the White House, Buddy was always the loyal friend, the companion through every challenge and hardship. The dog wasn't just a part of the family, it was also an inseparable part of the journey Trump went through. With every decision, every challenge, Buddy was always by his side. In moments of tension, when international issues threatened national security, when reporters questioned him, or even when important political decisions had to be made, Buddy was a steady anchor. No words, no urgings, just the presence of a friend who would never betray. That is what Buddy brought to President Trump and to the American people throughout his time in office. When Trump stepped out of the White House doors at the end of his term, a part of his heart would always remember Buddy, the dog who had witnessed every difficult moment, every victory, and every defeat. Their relationship wasn't just about love. It was about loyalty and mutual respect. Buddy was not just a dog in the White House. He was a symbol of absolute loyalty, an inseparable part of the legacy Trump left behind. And even when President Trump left politics, Buddy would remain a part of the memory, a part of the story of the White House under his leadership. The dog would continue to be the loyal friend, a symbol of an unbreakable friendship throughout those years. Call to action. The story of Buddy and President Trump is not just a story between a man and a dog, but a testament to loyalty, courage, and everlasting friendship. We can learn a lot from this relationship. Buddy's loyalty has taught us that, sometimes in difficult moments, what we need is not words or explanations, but a friend, someone ready to stand by us without asking for reasons. What do you think about this special relationship? Do you have any stories about friendship or loyalty that you'd like to share? Or do you have ideas about how Buddy helped President Trump overcome challenges? We would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Leave your ideas and reflections in the comments below. You can also share your own stories about loyalty and friendship, as we believe that everyone's story has its own power and value. Thank you for following the story of President Trump and Buddy. We look forward to continuing to share more inspiring and meaningful stories with you in the upcoming episodes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any interesting stories.